So ladies and gentlemen, if you would be so kind as to give Dwayne Dean and Frank Graham a nice Dreamforce welcome. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
All right, hi, and thanks a lot for coming to join us today. Just get set up here. All right. So first of all, I think Jody was able to sort of go through who we are, and I don't want to spend too much more time on that at this point, but we're part of the NTT group, and there's folks from all of the member companies that are here in the US around the place, so please come and introduce yourself. Here's what we're going to cover over the next, hopefully 10 minutes. We'll keep it brief because I know there's lots of things for everybody to be able to see here. So first of all, we'll tell you who we are and which member companies that we're with, which operating companies we're with. We're going to talk about some of the industry challenges. And then we're going to touch on the Service Cloud and show you where we fit into the Service Cloud. And then finally, we're going to discuss partnerships within the NTT group and how we can collaborate together to make you more successful. So a little bit of background on NTT Center Stance. So we are actually we're a Platinum Salesforce.com partner, and we've been working with Salesforce since 2001. We've got a proven track record, and we have thousands, literally, of implementations at this point. Sorry. Nobody trained me on this morning, so here we go. And we also we continue to invest in our Service Cloud folks. We've got a lot of certified consultants from the Service Cloud side, but we continue to invest in Service Cloud, and we have partnerships with folks like our neighbors over here at ServiceMax, and one of our strategic providers on the field service side, and we do a lot of work with them. My name is Dwayne Dean. I'm actually a client partner with NTT Center Stance. I've got about 15 years of CRM experience, mostly focused on services automation, including the establishment and the improvement of contact centers, and I've spent many, many years in the telecom space. I'm very active in the Salesforce.com Dallas user group, and I think if you have access to user groups in your location, I strongly encourage you to get involved as well. I'm going to hand over now to Frank Graham to go through Dimension Data.
Thanks, Dwayne. So my name is Frank Graham. I'm a senior solution consultant with Dimension Data. Dimension Data is a global leader in provisioning and managing contact center infrastructure and other information communication technology to help our clients achieve their business goals. And as you can see, we've been quite successful over the last 30 years. And we build that success on our deep experience and capabilities in building out contact centers, the practice that I'm most focused on, as well as from the other side of the house, where we build out and have built for the last 20 years, managed data centers on behalf of our clients. And in fact, it's the convergence of that contact center functionality into the data centers, into the cloud, that I'm going to be speaking with you about today. So in addition to our own success with our clients and helping them achieve theirs as well, we're also recognized by industry analysts such as Gartner. And it's that leadership position in global communications, outsourcing, and professional services capability that really helps us stand out and help our clients achieve their goals. And as I said, on the one hand, we're helping out our clients meet their goals and certainly meet our own financial objectives as well. But we also give back to the community in the form of what we call our benchmarking report. And that's a report that's based on 817 firms around the world providing data through surveys that allows us to see them in their own countries and across the 11 sectors that they're involved in. And it allows us to then have some insight and some trends and analysis that we can then provide to you. And in fact, the easiest ways to get this benchmarking report is to become that 818th firm that provides your data anonymously so that you can then benefit from slicing and dicing the data that comes out of it. And as I said, our report produces about 6-7 chapters on strategy, operations, workforce optimization, self-service, and the underlying technology. That particular report is in its 16th iteration this year, and the theme was multi-channel, are you ready? And so here's just one example sample where we asked the question, what are the common challenges that you face in your contact center today? A sample of 557 firms. And as you can see, the top three are integration, flexibility, and essentially cost. Too expensive. And so the natural reaction is, well, okay, well, everyone's talking about the cloud. Is it any actually better? Well, it turns out, and I've actually got other data points as well that indicate the perception before and during the transition, but post-transition, here it is, how has the use of hosted technologies affected your business? And so the top three are still there. You see cost, integration essentially, and flexibility, but the order is actually flipped around. It's actually greener than they thought it was going to be. The cost to serve those channels is much lower. And in the perspective of that theme I mentioned earlier about multi-channel, are you ready? If you think about the traditional way you contact your banking company, your insurance company, healthcare, whatever it may be, traditionally it's been voice and voice only. Now with Gen X, Gen Y, Millennial, and others, there's a multitude of channels, email, instant message, chatter, and various forms of social engagement, Facebook, Twitter, and so forth. And each demographic has the preferred channel. So now the burden has just become incredible on contact centers trying to maintain all these relationships with all these different customers in their preferred channel. So now you understand why integration was such a pain point, and the cost to serve all those channels is so incredibly tough. So to that end, what do we bring as Dimension Data and NTT Stance with NTT Group? Well, we've got a public managed cloud platform available globally through the Americas, South Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia, New Zealand. And we also have private managed cloud platforms where we leverage the existing premise data centers as well as third-party data centers to deliver hosted capability, or hosted private MCP, which is the hybrid of the two. And this allows us to then have the underlying infrastructure into which we put the contact center functionality, specifically the voice side. And the reason I say only the voice side is because Service Cloud from Salesforce has done a tremendous job of integrating all those other channels I mentioned earlier in terms of instant messaging, email, chatter, and the other forms of social engagement. So really, we only have to now focus on bringing in the traditional legacy voice capabilities into this overall contact center. And so we do that through the CTI integration levels that Salesforce provides. And we also leverage the API, which Dwayne will talk about in a little bit, in terms of bringing out third-party functionality into that. And it achieves all the benefits that you'd expect, from cost to flexibility and to ease of managing the various integrations from upgrades and migrations and so forth. So at a simplistic level, there's the Service Cloud. And as I said, all the other forms of interaction that are preferred by, as I mentioned, millennials, Gen X, Gen Y, and so forth. But traditional voice is the one exception that's in Service Cloud. It's not there inherently. But there are open interfaces and integration frameworks to allow us to bring in our voice contact functionality, whether it happens to be Cisco, Genesys, Avaya, or any of the other leaders out there, and put it into the managed cloud platform that I mentioned earlier. And that could either be public or hybrid. More likely a hybrid, because there's usually a large investment in that existing legacy infrastructure if it's a large firm. And this then gets you the benefits immediately of the Service Cloud with bringing that into a hosted capability, either directly as a pure pay-as-you-go or other clever financial and buyback schemes that the power of NTT gives us to provide to our end clients. And so, as I said, we're doing all the legwork in terms of bringing in the voice contact center into the overall Service Cloud environment. And our fellow operating companies, such as NTT CenterStance, help us with the APIs and the integrations for other components. As an example, if you're a financial services firm, you may be required to record every single call. And you want to have quick ease of clicking on that URL from within your agent console to bring up that particular transaction. So that would be a third-party integration through an API, something that NTT CenterStance. And that's of high value to our clients to bring in that other information into it. And Dwayne here will now present a little bit more about Service Cloud and the high-value integrations and customizations that NTT CenterStance brings into bear. Thank you.
All right. Well, so Jody just gave me the challenge to finish up in 3 minutes. So I promise we'll keep this brief so you guys can get on to the next thing. So we've touched a little bit on Service Cloud for the veterans in the audience. You guys will know about all the great functionality that Service Cloud has, and for the rookies, I encourage you to either come by and have a chat with us, and we'll go through some of the functionality. We can set up a demo or head off into the campground to have some of the folks at Salesforce show you some of the great things around Service Cloud. There's just so much from the traditional case management all the way through setting up Service Console and really sort of squeezing all the value out of the Service Cloud area. So we'll move on. Simply similar to what Frank had talked about on the Gartner the Magic Quadrant. You can see where Service Cloud sits, highly positioned as the customer engagement leader, and really ranking very, very high in both vision and execution. So you're getting best of breed. This is where we come in. What can we do? We get into the advisory services. We can go from planning from end to end, soup to nuts, getting into anything from call scripting into stuff working around the API and working around CTI through the entire implementation phase, and very, very strong methodologies to support both advisory and implementation. Other parts of Service Cloud, and we've touched on CTI a little bit, customer portals, and they're all known as communities now, but really sharing knowledge out there, leveraging the knowledge base within Service Cloud, and being able to reuse that information to drive calls away from the agents and making people share information that's already been captured as part of your products and product suites. So let's talk a little bit about our partnership. As we've mentioned, we've got the full end-to-end solution, leveraging best of breed from a software perspective in the middle with Salesforce, and then being able to implement that. We've as opposed to leveraging other suppliers, we can give you a single point of contact, managing the project and managing everything in between. And so, the proverbial one throat to choke and being able to work with a single partner. We've got a global footprint on both Dimension Data and NTT Center Stance, and then we obviously have best-in-class services backed by the NTT Group. And that is it. Some of the folks that we've dealt with at both Dimension Data and NTT Center Stance, and we are done.
We encourage you to come up if you have any contact center opportunities for us to help out. We'd be delighted to get engaged. Thank you.